Okay, so it's not completely dry yet, but you can take a look and basically get an idea of what it's going to look like. So in the meantime, while that's drying, let's go ahead and do all those spots that we want to do in blue. Now I've got the Citadel Mordian blue here, and I've watered it down just a little bit. This is another one of the Citadel base colors, so it's going to be very high pigment, and we're going to do some effects kind of like we just did on the gun. We're going to do a base coat and wash and maybe a little bit of highlight afterwards. So let's just go ahead and lay in a base coat here on the shoulder pads. That was a little too watered down. Okay. There's no real trick to this aside from just not getting it on the adjacent panels. Just want to lay down a base color here. Whenever you're doing panels like this, make sure to take a look at it when you're done and see if there are any edges that are very obvious that you've missed. I find a lot of times that I will have already moved on to the next step before I realize that I've missed a small spot that is small but very obvious. So I always end up having to go back and do that. So I try very hard to remember to do that as I go, so I don't have tons of cleanup work at the end. Okay. So, okay, we still have this area right here. Okay, because we're going to go all the way down to that secondary plate there. Okay, not too shabby. Okay, so we got these two shoulder pads now. Now I think that the middle portion of the scabbard also needs to be blue. Let's just go ahead and lay that in. Just gotta make sure not to hit any of the areas we've already painted. And the rest of this end cap here and the handle here, we're going to leave that alone for right now because we're going to do that in a steel color. But I do want to make sure to get this. It's a nice even line. There we go, much better. So, got that. Now, one other area that I am considering doing in blue is this sort of almost metallic looking riveted strip at the base of the cloak. I think that would help to really set off this area as opposed to just leaving it all completely brown. So let's go ahead and do that. I think that'll look nice. Be a very simple and quick thing to do. We're just using the broad side of our brush here. We're not trying to use the tip to point, because that will inevitably end up in woes and gnashing of teeth. It's very difficult to control the point of the brush, but it's very easy to control the broad side of the brush. Okay, so there we are. That only took a few seconds. Let's just make sure. Yep, we got a little spot over here. Take care of that. Okay, and it looks like the front little loincloth tabard has a similar area on it, so let's just go ahead and do that to make it match. Okay. So I may be using the point of the brush here, just like I told you guys not to mere moments ago, but I'm essentially holding it flat to it like this, as opposed to pointing in like a jabbing motion. And this is the way to get good control, especially on high peak items like that, where it's actually protruding. It's much easier to get accuracy that way, rather than hoping that a little tiny point is going to land exactly where you want it every single time. Okay. Alright. Well, I think that's all for the blue here. Once that dries, we'll do a little bit of washing. Actually, in the meantime, we can get some silver done. So I'm going to mix up something real quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, so what I've mixed up here, and I'll show you on the palette. There we are. Right here, I've got chainmail metal and a little bit of that bootstrap leather again, and some of the actual red leather mixture that we did before, which was made of bale red and ogren flesh. You can just use ogren flesh, that's fine. I just happen to have a little bit of the other left over and figured I'd use it. It'll just give us a slightly redder tinge to it. So this is going to give us a much more interesting looking worn metal than just flat chainmail metal or bolt gun metal wood from the Citadel line. So let's go ahead and apply that to the barrel. And always careful not to touch any of the parts that we've already worked on. I'm sure you guys are getting sick of me saying that, but just always have to be mindful of where you've already painted and make sure that you know where your safe areas are. Okay, a little bit on the end there. Make sure we get all the under surfaces taken care of here. Okay, looking good. Okay, up next, I think let's go ahead and get the parts of the sword that we want to be this silver as well. So this end to the scabbard. Alright, so we've got that part now. So let's go ahead and get the handle. Okay. So we got it from that side. Just make sure get it from all visible angles, because it's another irritating thing to have happen. You think you've got all angles of something that you can see, and then you end up looking at it in a strange and different way one day, long after you've painted it, and suddenly you realize the other side of that handle is visible, and it's still painted brown. So I'm gonna carefully reach through this opening. There we go. So now that's what we've got. Let's make sure that we get a nice precise line right there. Good clean lines. Okay. So looking for anything else that needs silver. I do believe there is a clasp on his back right here that I think would look very nice as a silver clasp as opposed to a leather piece. So let's do that. We got that now. And any major buckle type things on the shoes? Not really seeing any. We do have the goggles. Let's go ahead and get these goggles here. I think those are going to look best in silver. So this is going to be very delicate. We do not want to get any on the face. And it's okay to get it down to the lenses. We don't want any to touch the flesh areas that we just spent all that time getting just the right shade. And it is still okay to get it on the hair, which frankly we probably should have painted first before endeavoring to do the goggles. So before I paint the area that's over the hair, let's go ahead and do the hair. I think I'd like for him to have black hair. So let's go ahead and get just a little bit of black on the palette. Don't need a whole lot. There's not a lot of surface area to cover. All right. Can't quite get it in focus. There we go. Okay. Okay, so the hair is all done now, and went ahead and did the strap that goes around the back of the head. Just be careful and take your time on that part. So now we've got a few metal parts that we need to go ahead and wash. We also have some blue parts that we need to wash.